Hey everyone, welcome to Q&Andy, the show where I don't know what the hell's going to happen.
No.
What do we got?
You don't. This week, Ella
Even more than usual, sorry.
Even more than
usual, yeah.
This week, Ella compiled a list that is all about rackets.
Okay.
So it'll be anything from, like why bring so many rackets to like what do you do about weight and distribution and strings and all that good stuff.
Ruh-roh.
And as a reminder, if you want to be featured on the show, send your questions to askandy@servpodcast.com or hit us up in your DMs on socials or here in the comments, or please submit a video question so you can see yourself on the show. No one ever wants to do video questions.
Why?
I don't know.
I want to do them.
Frustrating.
Yeah.
First one is from Jordan, who sent us an email, which could have easily been a video question. What was the weight and balance of your racket when you were on tour? Did it change at all during your career? If so, when and how?
I don't know.
You really don't know at all?
I don't know. I saw a lot of players who knew the weight and balance, and if it changed a little bit, it was like their world would explode. I knew that I liked it to be head heavy. I didn't use as heavy of a frame as most people, but I trusted kind of the racket technicians, right? I worked with, Grant Morgan and Roman Prokas and the stringing, and they had kind of full autonomy to send something, hey, based on what's happening, based on the way they're developing, this might help. And I would pick it up, and it was all feel. And I didn't want to kind of default to like getting in my own head. Math is hard for me. So I didn't kind of want to get into my own head about it, but they had kind of full autonomy to say, hey, listen, let's loosen this. Let's loosen what we're stringing it at. Let's tighten it based on, you're in Madrid, the ball flies. You're, cold in Hamburg, the ball's not going anywhere. Let's loosen and tighten as needed. And yeah, the weight was kind of generally the same, but I was kind of open to suggestions from people whose job it was to know what the latest and greatest was, and I had confidence in them bringing that to the table if needed.
A follow-up to that, the other day, we were out on the court and we were looking at some rackets, and you were explaining even just the way, like, kind of the throat feels when you bring your offhand up. Like, can you kind of talk through, like, if a design changes drastically, like what that does just to the comfort level? Yeah,
we were doing something for Wilson. I just switched to the racket that like all the guys are using. That's like this hyped unnamed beast.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, but the throat is a different shape than what I was used to, right? So it's not even just how the ball jumps off the racket or the weight distribution, but like every forehand you grab the throat. And for the first probably 5 or 10 minutes that I was hitting, the throat was a different shape, so it was throwing me off, and on the chip backhand. So it's like I'm still getting used to that. Like it's different, but the way the grommets run create a different spin effect. The how wide the throat is. It's not even how dense or spread out the string pattern is. Makes it more control or less control. There's just a million factors than the standard. How much does it weigh? It's where the weight is. Is it top? Is it bottom? Is it in the throat? Is it midway? I liked it towards the top. I liked the racket to feel like it was kind of sailing through. Grip size, length of racket. Mine was a half inch longer my entire career, to the point where I didn't realize it was that weird. But the guys that I play with now, you go to a thing and you always kind of, can I see your racket? And you kind of look at it and see it, and people are like, this is longer. I'm like, yeah, I've always played with it longer. And apparently that's weird now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mike reached out and wanted to know, how much impact does racket technology actually have at the pro level? And could you ever see tennis embrace a regulated tech ceiling the way F1 or baseball does? Maybe
is the answer. I mean, I think that's all on the table. The biggest change, the rackets have obviously been a big change. Obviously going from wood to like the Connors T2000, to, the Prince Graphite to, and then Babolat comes along, and, the Wilson Pro staff has been here forever. And, those are always changing. The biggest change by far in technology, I'm curious to hear comments, but, I feel like most of the pro tours would tell you the biggest change has been in strings, right? And everyone's looking at rackets, and then these strings come in, and they're actually ones that like are designed to be rough and cut the ball. It's the strings have jumped the pail, right? Now, that's why we're seeing the power in the game, right? It's like adding a foot on each side of a bowling alley for professional bowlers.
Oh wow!
Like they wouldn't miss, right? It's the Luxilon strings and the generation. Now we're seeing that kind of first generation of, do you need much nuance or do you need to just create as much speed as possible as often as possible, right? The strings have kind of done that. I think the rackets are reacting to the strings, not vice versa.
Is it kind of a follow-up to this? Ben wrote in and said, I'm curious how pros pick rackets and strings. I understand that they have sponsorship to honor, but when choosing a racket in that brand's line, are you looking for one which accentuates your strengths? How's that process go?
It depends. I liked, I'll give you an example. Midway through my career, like midstream, everyone started using Luxilon. Like it used to kind of be, Moyo would use it, Querton would use it, but everyone was still like using a hybrid mix. Like that's what Roger used most of his career. Then you get like 04, 05, and you're seeing these guys just wailing on balls, and people are making a lot more returns because it's deader the margin. Trying to return my serve with natural gut versus Luxilon is a very different animal. There's a lot more people that can put a lot more in play. So I would obviously, like, if something happens, you get a little bit of FOMO, like you get a little bit of fear of missing out where, gosh, I want to try these Luxilon strings. And I promise you I'm getting to the question that was asked. I liked Luxilon for returning. I liked it from the baseline. I did not like it for serving.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm going, I liked kind of the way it felt serving. I didn't like it, how dead it felt when I was serving with Luxilon. And so my trade-off was like, okay, do you improve the parts of your game that maybe matter less than your serve? And I feel like I always ended up going back to, or at least most of the time, listen, the serve is the peanut butter and jelly, right? That's the filling. That's what you need. And so to his point, the answer is maybe. If the offset is there, I could never get over the offset, kind of what it took away from my best shot versus if it improved my backhand a little bit. Like I wasn't going to hit winners on it either way. I could dominate and win matches with my serve alone.
Brian asked, during your career, did you ever receive any offers from other racket companies to switch brands? And maybe if you could just give us like a quick, us that don't know, a quick background of what your racket experience was and then kind of, why you were so committed to it.
Yeah, mine felt good. At that point, it's like I think you get the first ones that are like complete game changers. And I already named some of like the absolute icons. Like the Wilson Pro Staff was like a game changer with how solid it was. And you're coming in and you have, I don't think it's coincidence that the best volleyers in the world forever were using the Pro Staff, right? You have like the best field players who get it, lock it up solid. Even from Chris Everett started using it. And it's like, you give her a bigger sweet spot, metal racket. It changed everything. I think the Pure Drive changed everything. Like I picked it up and the ball's like jumping all over the place. Now other racket companies, you're in a copycat league, right? It's like, oh, this is available. Now I'm going to take the best parts of the Pro Staff and I'm going to mix it with something that resembles a Pure Drive. But for me, in the middle of my career, I never entertained switching rackets. Now there were adjustments to the racket I was using, right? There would be, hey, we have their ongoing conversations. The grommet maybe changed a little bit. They had this, system in the throat that, I don't know if it mattered, but it was something to sell. So I never was approached by another racket company. I was so associated with Babolat at that time, to the point where I was pleasantly surprised because I didn't play tennis forever after I retired. Then all of a sudden you get access to new rackets and what we're doing with Wilson now, and they're bringing modern technology. I'd never seen that.
Yeah,
I'm going, this is fun because now the brands that were made the iconic rackets, and then Babolat took a generation, and now these kind of old school master makers are going, yeah, we can play that game too. But no, I was never approached by another racket company. And if it was, the two things that I was very convinced that you couldn't really compromise on at all, you can wear any shirt. Like it doesn't really matter. Like they can get you something that like kind of gets there. So clothing was like whatever. Shoes mattered big time. Like you don't want, you see people get like foot injuries because they switch, if you find a shoe, you kind of stick it in. You see that with a lot of players. Like they rarely change models, or like it looks like a change model, but it's kind of the same. Yeah. And rackets, I think of, Safin, switched from the head to maybe a Dunlop, or at least a head that was painted black. James tried to go from Dunlop to Prince, and he couldn't. He was carrying a Prince bag with his last 3 Dunlop rackets for like 3 years. He had 3 rackets. Like it was the most amateur operation I'd ever seen. But like, you know, they kind of took the money, and then there was I don't know how it works now, but like the language was, okay, we're going to announce this deal, and then we'll get you to the racket. We can definitely find you something that you like. It doesn't always work out that way. So I was not tempted. In my style of game, like I didn't have the racket skills to use, you know, a thin head racket or a, you know, Sampras or Federer type Wilson racket. Like I needed some juice, right? I needed it to cook off the face. So at that time, Babolat was the best for that, for sure. I think, you know, people have made up ground, you know, or surpassed them now, but it's for me, I never considered a different racket company.
Josh wrote in asking, you know, that he's always seen pros with a fleet of rackets that they bring to a match, you know, and constantly getting rackets restrung potentially throughout a match, maybe not. But he said, you know, he had multiple questions within this, but I think the one that stuck out to me the most is, will each racket be set up with different strings/tension for different situations throughout the match?
Situation, you're not going to go change a racket just because you're in a breaker, right? So it's not even situational. It's probably weather dependent. Okay. If you haven't played on center court yet, and it's a little bit faster than the outside courts or vice versa. So if you settle on a tension and let's say it's 58 pounds, right? Great. If you break a string, if you break a racket, if something happens, you need like 3 or 4 options at that tension, but maybe your tension's on 2 or 3 pounds on either side of that, and you still need those 3 or 4 rackets in each tension set. And you might take 4 tensions out there. You know, you're looking at 12 rackets. I would like, my stringer would roll his eyes at me because like he would send out 10 rackets. I would use 1, keep 2 for practice the next day, and send back 10 rackets that had never been used.
And then he's cutting it out and restringing.
Or if like another example is if you start, you know, a Grand Slam match in the heat of the day and it runs in the night, that changes. It could be 6 inches less carry on a given shot. Right, so you have to kind of map that out. Sometimes the wind's blowing 20 miles an hour in one direction. You'll see players use a tension with the wind that's 2 pounds tighter than against the wind, right? So all of those things matter. If you're getting basically more carry, you have to have options for different patterns and different not situations, but different, you know, the way that the court is playing, but then have a 3 or 4 racket run in each of those. You know, each of those kind of lanes. So yeah, I mean, it looks like a waste, and a lot of time it is, but you got to have the option.
This question is the last question before our random question of the day. Jeff wants to hear your thoughts.
You're still doing it?
Yeah, we're still doing it. Oh. Jeff has a super in the weeds question, and so I'm going to read it to you because I have no idea what the hell he's talking about.
The way my brain works on the show is like, I hope I understand what he's talking about.
Yes. No one seems to discuss the practical differences between the 85 to 90 square inch racket, Federer's choice, versus the 100 square inch racket, Nadal's. At the elite level, where every point matters, I think Federer should have switched to the larger head sooner. And notably, after he did make the switch, he beat Nadal at Wimbledon and Australian Open. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it was never 85, Federer's version, right? That was like a Pete version or like a Edberg version. It got bigger. I think, I don't know, I'd be guessing, but I think if you asked Roger, should you have switched 2 or 3 years earlier? My guess is that he would have said, yeah, it was really good when I did. I was coming over. The biggest thing was he was able to swing full out on backhand returns. Like it was funny, like when he wasn't in his prime anymore, because of that racket switch, he kind of code switched the matchup against Rafa and had like a really good run to where when we did our interview with Rafa, he said that, you know, whatever the 2018 version of Federer was the best I saw.
Yeah.
In that matchup from outside looking in. But the difference between, you know, chipping with a smaller head versus being able to swing freely with a bigger sweet spot and kind of a little bit more give changed the dynamic of the way the points started and were played. I remember Roger switched, and I watched him beat Rafa at Indian Wells, which is slow. It was in the evening, you know, normally cool in the evenings. He beat him like 3-0 and was hitting backhand winner returns off of Rafa's serve, which was something I hadn't seen before. Normally it started with laying down the chip, which worked against me, not so much against Rafa. Like he's the person that you at least want to chip against on earth. But yeah, would there have been advantages? Yes. Also, exactly what we were talking about, where I felt comfortable with most of my game with this, but then it's like your binky, man. Like if you've won 20 slams with a certain setup, it's really hard to switch. And different, strokes for different folks. But like, yeah, I mean, I would suspect that if you asked him, do you wish you would have made that switch 2 years earlier? I'm guessing he would say yes.
All right, well, Sean, you know what time it is. Play the music.
Time for the random question of the day.
Luca has this random question of the day. Andy, do you remember being involved in Smash Court Tennis Pro Tournament 2 for the PlayStation 2? Do you have any stories from it? They gave you a great serve, but I'm sorry to say all the other stats were lackluster. You deserve better. And I think we have a corresponding YouTube video for this. Sean? Let's see these stats. Oh my gosh, look at this. Who's he playing here? James Blake? Where'd you guys find this?
That was back when
Final
James
set.
had the full do.
Dude, ripped. Dude, this is your grunt?
No, that was...
Dude, look at that Reebok fit, though.
It's clean.
Where did you guys find this? Oh.
Am I upset that that they gave me a really good serve and the rest of my game was stunted?
yeah, that's it.
Seems pretty fucking accurate to me. I mean, that seems about right. Like, I think it would have been weirder if, they made this game where I'm just ripping two-hand winners up the line. Like, I think that would have been a little bit further. But no, I wasn't really a game. I'm not a gamer. I wasn't a gamer. I mean, the oldest that I've ever, and apparently deservedly so. Remember when Taylor Fritz was playing video games and I didn't know what the hell it was?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
So apparently this is my oldest lane.
Apparently the players involved were you, Juan Carlos Ferreira, Tim Henman, Leighton Hewitt, James Blake, Safin, Tommy Haas, and Gasquet.
I mean, I'm just going to say this.
Yeah.
And then we'll get out of here. If those were the players, they're amazing players, but there are a couple that are left out. I'm just saying I might not have to be doing a podcast.
Yeah. I Googled it. I Googled it on GameFAQs.com. It says Andy Roddick, pros, huge serve, consistent flat shots, cons, average overall movement, volleys and slice shots, below average stamina, low top spin, only moderate
Below
power
average
from the
stamina.
baseline. Yeah. Surface efficiency, grass, hard, clay. Clay was third, ideally, obviously. Realistically depicted, no. Roddick lacks his bread and butter forehand in the game. See, this person's on your side.
It was fine. So one thing I'll say, like, all of those things are true, and if you've listened to the show, you know that my favorite target is probably me.
Yeah.
My slice is legit, folks. I'm just going to tell you, my slice is legit.
It's legit.
Everything else is bad, but don't say my slice was average. My slice is legit.
Yeah.
Legit.
This is just...
Some would say...
How dare them.
Some would say elite. No one would say elite. Anyways, thanks for watching Q&A.